Hello everybody, this is Jeffrey. Before I begin, I need to apologize because in the last video, I kept saying Huskar and I meant Troll Warlord. I was really tired when I recorded that, so I have to apologize. Forgive me. I'm new to this. Though to be fair, I should feel ashamed because I'm not new to Dota. Okay, so this game was a ranked game. I played either on SEA or Australia. I queue up for both of them because my pings for both are decent. And I have not had the best history with ranked. I'm not a fantastic player. I'm alright. My knowledge of the game is better than my execution, and my ability to make calls in-game is often iffy. It doesn't help that I'm queuing solo, so it often depends. I depend a lot more on my teammates being able to communicate with me. I mean, I'm uploading this, by the way, because I don't usually play ranked. I don't think it was the best of games, both in terms of my performance and team balance. I should point out that purple and yellow, they DC quite a bit. Eventually things seem to stabilize, but it seems like it lags quite a bit for them, which is unfortunate. And so I'll start. Usually, by the way, when I go for ranked, I don't like playing a carry because I depend too much on my allies doing alright for early and mid games, or at least I don't play a hard carry. Sometimes I play mid Storm Spirit. I've actually done alright with him. But usually I like to play a position 4 or 5 because I like to make sure that my team has a safe early game, and that builds up into the mid to late game. Sorry, bit of a cold. Now, originally my plan was to either play Silencer. I've been doing pretty alright with him. Or Rubik is a pick if I see my enemy team pick people like Enigma or Tidehunter. Alternatively, I was also considering Warlock, but I found that he doesn't really work with a lot of teams these days because he's too slow, and a lot of teams these days want consistent aggression. I did consider Vengeful Spirit, but my Vengeful Spirit is iffy. So this game goes on, and by the way, for those who don't know, in ranked you take turns picking. It used to be that way for unranked all pick, but now it's just in ranked. So Dark Seer gets picked first, and immediately I'm thinking we either have a jungler or an offlaner. Dark Seer is one of those heroes who I understand he's very versatile, very useful. I'm just not good at using him. Usually, however, because he's not really considered like this big popular hero, whenever I do see someone pick him, I'm immediately inclined to believe they know how to use him. Slark is a very popular one in the current pub meta. He comes with a stealth, he is a hard carry, he has an escape mechanism, his own form of disable. He works well for people going solo. Lich gets picked, and I'm thinking that's another offlaner or support. And I'm immediately thinking we don't really have an initiator. We have a team fight. We have two team fight ultimates in the Wall of Replica from Dark Seer and the Chain Frost from Lich. But we need someone who can really go in. And at this point, I'm thinking Silencer would be excessive. And they've got Slark and Dazzle. So I went Enigma because Black Hole. But I'm immediately realizing after I picked him that I don't really have a lane that's good for me, and so I'll be forced into the jungle. So we have Death Prophet. Death Prophet was originally meant to go mid, and you'll see what happens later. Death Prophet is one of the mids I like quite a bit because Death Prophet has a lot of pushing power, a lot of early game threat, and late game she becomes a pusher, but she's also really hard to kill because she's all about just ult Yules, and while she's spinning up there, her ult will wreck a whole ton of damage. You get a heart eventually. Blink is something I do like on Death Prophet. So the enemy team is very aggressive. I mean, Ursa and Axe are two heroes who shine a lot in the early game, and Slark can gank very easily with Dazzle. So I'm already inclined to believe that they are going for some sort of all-in. So Faceless Void's a nice touch because you've got 4 people who can facilitate the early to mid game. So I'm immediately thinking Faceless top with Lich, Dark Seer off lane, I jungle, and Death Prophet mid. What eventually happens is Faceless Void decides that he's gonna go mid, and he's very sure of his ability to counter Pudge, which in my opinion shouldn't be the case, but he seems sure of it because Pudge picked after Death Prophet. Lich goes off lane, and Dark Seer goes safe lane. And I'm alright with this because Lich has sacrifice. I mean, he took sacrifice. I assumed he knew what he was doing. He can deny a lot of mana, and he moves fast. And he went boots first. I'm iffy about that. But I mean, against an aggressive lineup like that, I can understand it. So Dark Seer gets Soul Ring, a very early Soul Ring. He must have randomed then. Yeah, he must have randomed Dark Seer. Did I miss that? Did I get that wrong? Well, we should just turn this into a drinking game where you take a shot every time I make a mistake, like calling out Huskar when it's Troll Warlord. But instead, he must have randomed this because there's no way you can buy a Soul Ring with starting gold. So we see a Dazzle, we see an Axe, and I mean offlane Axe is, like I said before in one of my previous videos, a very good offlane hero. He tries to go in for a harass, and Slark immediately gets a kill on Death Prophet because Ursa got his Fury Swipes off, and Death Prophet is very squishy at the start of the game. Death Prophet, if you don't get any branches, which are very important, only has 511 health and 15% physical damage reduction. So Ursa's Fury Swipes does a whole ton, and if you use a Slark Lance's Pounce, it's a lot of damage coming your way. There's almost no way you can survive it. So this is a very greedy safe lane for Radiant because they both kind of need their farm. You have a semi carry and a hard carry. Well, I mean Slark's a late game carry. So Pudge gets a kill very early on the Faceless Void because Dazzle went for Poison Touch. So Dazzle does Poison Touch, and then you can't really dodge hook into Rot. So Faceless Void already starts out in a really bad position, and I see Dazzle. What I don't realize is Axe is here. He's coming from the off lane, so he comes from there, and this is the worst time for me to have all of these. So because of it, I die, and the poison's ticking away on me. The most I can hope for is to be out of EXP range. I'm not. So Dazzle hits level 2, and he gets Healing Wave. And this is a very common tactic that Axes like to do. And it's important that the way to deal with this is to rotate your ranged heroes to deal with the Axe. So at this point, as you can see, Slark's gotten a kill, Pudge has gotten a kill in the Faceless Void. So Death Prophet and Faceless Void are already starting out really badly. And I mean, it's forgivable for me to start out a little badly since I was already level 1 at the time. But what my team needs from me is initiation. So I need that Blink Dagger. In fact, I told my team I was essentially rushing for Blink Dagger. So I stay away from here because I didn't really know what else I was supposed to do. And I do a really shitty job of microing my minions. I don't even attack with my main hero. So as you can see, I'm not doing fantastic with this, and Axe has a DC problem, and Dark Seer goes in, gets a surge off, and I believe he's gonna go for the Dazzle, which is a good call. Dazzle is the bigger threat. So he gets the kill on Dazzle, and it's the first kill for our team. I mean, at this point, I have no idea what Dazzle was trying to do. I think Dazzle thought that he could control both the Axe and him together and get a kill, but instead he got himself killed. Because really what he should have done was just run away. And he'd have been fine. He could have even selected the axe and done axe's taunt, the berserker's call. So, oh wait, no. Yeah, axe reconnected, and instead axe starts on that really bad position. So Dark Seer gets his lane back, and it's relatively safe. And axe is one of those heroes, like I said before, he's a bit of an all-in. And you'll see right now, once his initial ganks start failing and the other team starts getting some farm, he doesn't deal as well with all of this. Now I come around and I don't really expect to get a kill here because Dark Seer is low on health. I'm just trying to harass a little bit. So off lane, we have the Death Prophet. Death Prophet is going for Crypt Swarm and Witchcraft. There's no real reason for her to get silenced because the only person who would actually be affected would be Slark, and really Slark's already going to have his Dark Pact prepared when he pounces, so it's not as much of an issue. Yeah, Ursa's having some issues, so we wait for a while. Pudge is doing alright. He's level 4 against the level 4 Faceless Void. He's got a kill, Faceless Void's got a death. So as you can see in the gold graph, he's winning the Void just barely. The Void's managed to catch up in terms of last hits. In fact, the Void has a higher XP per minute because the Void hasn't needed to leave the lane. And, I mean, if you're gonna die, do it early on, I suppose. So in terms of farm, Dark Seer's got slightly less gold than the axe, but got a lot more XP as well because the axe is down here at 238 while Dark Seer's at 407. He's got solo safe lane while axe has been all about ganking. I am doing the worst on my team, and that's to be expected, both in terms of XP and gold. I won't really become much of a threat until Demonic Conversion gets up to level 2, because that will be the time when at least my Eidolons can clear creep camps fast enough, and that's sort of the nature of junglers, by the way. Junglers tend to start out really slowly, most of them do. But most of the junglers these days ramp up a lot faster than Enigma or Nature's Prophet does. So I see the Dazzle, and I'm like, I have nothing. I can't do anything to Axe. But Dark Seer sees him, so I loop around, and I know he's trying to do a call, and we get caught in a really bad position here. So I stun him, and I get surged by the Dazzle. He really saves my life right there. And I have to just stay by the tower. Like, I could die very easily here. The only saving grace is because of Dazzle's aggression. I am alive. Dazzle has like less gold per minute than me and less XP per minute than me. Pudge misses a hook, and this is good for our team because Pudge is rotating and XP is being gained by Faceless Void. Farm is being gained by Faceless Void. It's all good. This is a really bad position for Dark Seer to be in. Really, that would have been the best time after the poison touch flew off for Pudge to try for a hook, but it looks like they didn't have communication at the time. So like I said, Axe, as you can see, he gets to do this kind of thing, blocking creep waves, and he does it from very early on. And I see this happening. Death Prophet rotates, but we don't have the kind of damage we need. Death Prophet doesn't have the movement speed we need to chase down Axe because he's already got his Boots of Tranquility. And my Eidolons move really slowly. They have a base movement speed of 250. So it was a mistake for me to start my Eidolons from there. But they've hit level 2, so they've got a respectable 28 damage each. And you must remember that you count the Eidolons as 6, not times 3, because once you do the little bit of microing you need at the start, they actually clear creep camps pretty fast. As you can see, basically one set of Eidolons lasted 1 camp, and that's a waste. So I mean, the lanes are really aggressive right now. As you can see, Faceless Void was caught in a really bad position, but he uses his ult to get away, and I'm all for it. But the lanes are very aggressive right now. A lot of rotating happening. Ursa's gone to the jungle. He's obviously going for Vlad's. So his Vlad's is slow. He should already be trying to get his what do you call them? Roshans. And these two DC together, so I'm actually inclined to believe they're playing in the same place. Slark nearly gets a kill on Lich. More importantly, Slark's ult has been blown. And top lane, Death Prophet still doesn't have her ult, so they're in no position to really push this tower. But as you can see, essentially Radiant has gone for a very aggressive gank-based build, and my team has gone for a more standard support, carry, pusher, initiator sort of build. Also, by the way, in this game, the Dark Seer and Faceless Void are in a party together. The Axe and Ursa are also in a party together. And so Pudge is waiting for the rune. That's fine. We've got an unnecessary pair of wards over here. I would have rather warded this spot, so at least you had more vision over here. I mean, if you're gonna put a ward here. At this point, Lich should really just hang back and let his Tranquil Boots come back off cooldown, because he needs the health regen. And Pudge gets a kill on Death Prophet. I ping this, I'll rewind it. But basically, I was in the jungle, and I see him, I ping, and I tell him to back off. And at this point he does, but he's standing there, and Pudge has haste rune, so he just runs up to him and ults him. I mean, I did warn him, but you're not getting away from Pudge. And he had a level 4 hook, and he landed a point blank one because it is pure damage. It is 360 pure damage, and Death Prophet's max health, I believe, at this point is like 600 something tops. So as you can see, we're starting the game in a really defensive posture, but we're not really losing out because all of their rotating isn't paying off as much. They're not getting a consistent wave of kills. Every time you stop a team like an Axe or a Pudge with Dazzle from farming, you already start winning. So one thing a lot of players have this misconception is, oh my god, they're being really aggressive, we need to be aggressive too. And then they go and try and be aggressive with lineups that aren't as ideal for aggression. And this is the sort of thing you need to understand, and this is the sort of thing you need to watch out for. Because when you go play ranked, I'll rewind this, you need to be able to handle the fact that people are going to try and cheese you with every single gimmick they can think of. Axe is a very common one, Ricky Maru is another one. And he tries to go on Dark Seer, doesn't realize I'm there. So I went for an early point of Maledict. One, because Maledict is good against people like Pudge and Axe, who will find ways to be really tanky. It's also good against Slark, because when he tries and uses his ult. But yeah. So, really bad position, and Lich decides to throw his ult to kill Slark. I would have rather Lich just not be here, but as you can see, it looks like Lich and Dark Seer overcommitted. Yo, it's a shame. Oh no. Pudge got another gank on top. Death Prophet and Lich were just out of position. Death Prophet was really aggressive. Like, I'm not for it. I mean, we won at the end of the day, just spoiler alert. But I find Death Prophet being really aggressive. You could argue, yeah, well, he meant to go mid and he built himself mid and he picked a hero that he thought he could do mid with, not a dual lane with. And I can understand that. But like I said, it's still not what I'd consider a good score. I think picking a hero means that you also need to know how to adjust of it. Like, I know how to play Enigma position 5 as well as I can play Enigma position 4 or 3. In this case, I'm technically supposed to be position 3 because I need farm for my initiation. But in the end, I would say Dark Seer ended up being our position 3. I don't think I see this Pudge, so I rotate, not knowing Pudge is there. That is a good ult, a good combination of the two of them, but Death Prophet's there, and I don't get my stun off in time. And at this point, I'm like, we need to stop that Pudge, so I use my ult on this. We get a decent lead out of that. Like I said, it's questionable whether that was a good use of my ult, but Pudge at this point is level 10. He's higher level than anyone else on my team, so I figured take him out of the equation. And in looking at like the stats, I'd say it's worth it because this is my gold per minute and this is his. He's at 343 gold per minute and counting down now because he's out of the fight. That's worth it. When you have their highest farmer taken out, blow your ult. That's my opinion. Like, I'm sure some people would disagree, but he snowballs pretty hard. He does pretty well. Take him out of the equation. Faceless Void, by the way, is good against Slark because of Slark's stealth. That was a good hook from Pudge, and yeah, that was a Maledict. As you can see, is really paying for itself at this point. It stops a lot of aggression. It forces enemies to back off, and if they try and engage on it, they're in a really bad position. Dark Seer doesn't end up in the best of positions here. He dies, and we get a lucky bash, unfortunately. Faceless Void manages a good time walk, and my mind was based around trying to stun Slark. I didn't think about, yeah. So that's a good kill on Slark. And Axe is in the wrong place at the wrong time, so I get my Malefice off on him. Did I call it Maledict? Yeah, well, Malefice. And I'm not sure, does the kill happen? It should happen. Yeah, the kill happens. And so this is why I particularly like this sort of build on Enigma. Malefice is a skill you only really need 1 point of early on because, I mean, you could argue, well, you need more stun, but when you're going jungle build, you only need 1 level of Malefice and 1 level of Midnight Pulse, and Midnight Pulse is a better way to deal damage with just 1 level in it. You don't need to level it up until much later. I am far out of position. I couldn't help the Death Prophet. But I have my Blink Dagger at 13 minutes. It's not perfect, but it's decent. And this is all my team really needs me for at this point. It's to blink and ult in any sort of gank, to counter gank. Of course, my next item would be Arcane Boots, or BKB, or Aghanims. Those are the 3 other core items I have, but now that I have Blink, I'm essentially gold for the rest of the game. Like, if the enemy team decided to hunt me down indefinitely, I would have everything I needed. So I get my Malefice off, and this was a core kill. Shutting down Slark again. Lich tries for a KS. That was a bit of a cunt move. I'm not for it. So yeah, this guy needs to feel ashamed. So we rotate around, and my ult's coming off cooldown, so I'm immediately thinking we can do something in mid. But the Dark Seer just does his magic, so there was really no concern at all. So I just rotate around, and I'm like, okay, let's just push this. Axe is caught horribly out of position, and I did intend to just Malefice him because I thought he wouldn't die to it, but yeah. And Death Prophet wants to push. That's the right call at this point, but I have no mana, and I mean, Death Prophet isn't about to blow her ult, which she should actually. She should really just use her ult. But I think she wants the last hit on the tower. This is also the kind of thing you need to deal with in ranked. So often you need to... ranked tends to force people to play playmaking heroes because they always feel like they need to carry for their team. They need to make a big move on behalf of their team. Faceless Void manages to get away, and Ursa doesn't have his blink yet, so there's no way he can catch Lich. Lich really has his bad habit, sometimes just casting spells he doesn't need to. Also, Ice Armor is an amazing ability, but please remember that because of diminishing returns, you only really need 1 point in Ice Armor. And Lich gets caught horribly out of position. He should have blown his ult. He might have saved himself. But yeah. Yeah. So no kills happened, but Shallow Grave was blown. And Death Prophet doesn't have her ult at the moment, but we've taken down mid tower while all of that was happening. And I mean, Dark Seer is not in the best of positions. Death Prophet dies, but Dark Seer, I think he manages to get this kill. Because Shallow Grave is down, and yeah, Dark Seer gets the kill, but I think he dies too. Oh yeah, that Wall of Illusion was beautiful. He traded. Essentially, it turned out to be a 3 for 2, but at least the Dark Seer gets the kills, and he knows what he's doing with the hero, so good on him. I rotate down to bot. Oh no, this is Faceless Void. No, I rotate to top, because I wanted to stop Axe. Axe is obviously trying for another taunt, and he just gets his Culling Blade off, which is a shame. His Battle Hunger is great for shutting down my Bling Dagger, but let's just watch that engagement again. So at this point, I'm just trying to chase him off. I think I used my Malefice on him and my Maledict, and they really wanted to get this kill. And now I'm in execution range. There really wasn't much I could do. I probably shouldn't have chased after him. But now he's rotating and he's trying to go back into jungle. A Death Prophet could have actually caught him over here, and he'd have been dead. But that's okay. Because we didn't have any vision in our own jungle, so it was probably the safest thing that he didn't chase. At this point in the game, Death Prophet is 263. It's not where you want your mid pusher to be. She kind of is a bit of a snowball. She's now been effectively neutered. I have everything I need to contribute to the team, and Lich is actually doing all right. Death Prophet dies. That happens a lot. It's kind of a running theme through this video, and I mean that nicest way possible. I mean, Lich has everything he needs. I'm all for Aghanims on Lich, by the way, because Aghanims on Lich makes his ult bounce indefinitely. And what happens at mid? I think there was an engagement. Yeah. So this happens, and Slark's invisible. Slark, yeah. He has an Invis rune, and he's waiting for that Dark Seer to be out of position. And I see Slark come in, and I immediately just use my ult because 1, he's their carry, and 2, I don't want to feed anymore. So I think it was worth it. I didn't realize at this point he wasn't as much as a threat as much as their Ursa and Pudge. Give me a sec, my air conditioning is a bit faulty right now. But as you can see, my hero's not really paying off for himself. I would have been a better Venge at this point because a lot of times my ult is just being used on a single target. That's not to say it never gets used in a group situation, but it's not doing what I needed it to do. I immediately blinked because I knew Pudge was trying for a hook, so I took the safer route. And that's one thing I will say. Hold on, let's take a look at this. So Faceless Void is essentially pretty tanky now. He's got all 4 levels of backtrack, so he's doing pretty well. I use Malefice, and he could have probably culled me and just killed me. Yeah, he could have. Death Prophet goes off. Pudge finally dies. Axe dies. I run off because I'm not about to stick around. Okay, so again, back to what I was saying about Enigma. Enigma is a hero who does need to pay for himself. He's a big hero. He's a big play hero. His ult has, I think, a 3-minute cooldown. More than 3 minutes, but 3 minutes at level 3. So you really need to make sure that every time you use Enigma, every time you have an Enigma on your team, you are paying for it. Because if you just need a single target good stun, you should go for Beastmaster. And Beastmaster is actually a hero I want to learn. Because they both just need Blink Dagger, but Beastmaster's ult comes off cooldown a lot sooner. Beastmaster also outputs a little bit more damage than he does, but Enigma has more group potential. And the reason why I picked Enigma in this case was Faceless Void into my Midnight Pulse. So we dodged a hook right there. I'm not sure if I knew Pudge was there, but that was a nice dodge by me, if I do say so myself. This happens, and I immediately think, shit, it would be nice for me to have my black hole right now. Yeah, they shut me down. Once again, if I had my black hole, that could have gone very differently. Enigma is essentially designed for group AoE power. If Faceless Void gets off a good Chronosphere, I do one Midnight Pulse, and that's a lot of damage going out. Then I also have some pushing power, some ability to disable. Very versatile compared to, say, Vengeful Spirit. No, I don't know if I'd even have been alive in time if I had if I had saved my ult, but who knows. Anyway, my ult's coming off cooldown as I'm reviving, so I suppose that'll have to do. I come back in and I let them know that my ult's up, so anytime and this is a group situation, this is where I'm supposed to pay for myself. So this is where we'll see whether I do. Standard is to hide in the trees. I see this happening, and immediately I miss the axe. This is really unfortunate. The Faceless Void wastes my ult, but he gets the kills, so I'm not too bothered. But I mean, and that happens at least one other time in this match. It's really unfortunate, but essentially my ult gets wasted as a Faceless Void prep skill. I don't know why Ursa didn't react, but yeah, he had a Blink Dagger, but my Malefice stops him from using Blink Dagger, I believe. Yeah, damage type pure, so as we can go back and see the Ursa. Once I put down my Midnight Pulse, he was trying to blink away, but he couldn't. Mana gets shared. Slark has Shadow Blade at this point, and we see that, but we're not sure how big of an issue it will be. Spoiler alert, it does turn out to be quite a bit of an issue. I use my Malefice on him, but this Death Prophet does not have her Yules. She's not building for her Yules, she's building straight for Bloodstone, so it's quite an issue on her. Slark comes back, and I remember I used my stun, and he doesn't have Shadow Blade now. But oh wait, he just used Shadow Blade. There you go. It's unfortunate Faceless Void gets killed. I believe I die too. But yeah, Faceless Void gets killed. It's unfortunate, but that's okay. We're in a prime position to push, but most of us are either lacking in mana or just on the verge of dying. So we decide to just take this win and try to get the items we need to snowball. As you can see, I'm contributing to our team fights. I have a lot of assists on me, but I'm not getting the farm I need because right now the next item I want is a BKB. It's arguable that I could have just gone straight for a BKB after getting my Blink Dagger because I was essentially a hero that was designed around my black hole. This match does drag on for a while because we actually have a hard time ending the game. Their heroes are much better in the early game, even when they're on the back foot. People like Pudge are very tanky early on. They have a lot of magic. He has built-in magic resistance after all. So his magic resistance is 34%. It's a fair amount when you consider the fact that we don't have burst. We don't have burst magic resistance, magic damage on this team. Axe is here and I see him. So I stun him, I blink away, and I'm just trying to force him to take some damage from my Midnight Pulse. This is okay for me because there's no one on the team. There's not many creeps around. That Battle Hunger is really annoying me because it's affecting my ability to... Yeah, this is definitely a waste. This is definitely a waste. We didn't need my Black Hole to kill him. He dies, but he would have died anyway, so... So yeah, I'm not the best with Enigma, and it probably wasn't a good idea for me to pick him. He just seemed most appropriate for the match. So Lich gets the kill on Pudge, and at this point, the early ganking is costing, because Dazzle's level 9, and even the person with the most deaths on our team, which is Death Prophet, is level 12. Death Prophet, by the way, is 4-10-5. Usually if you're in this position with Death Prophet, I would suggest moving towards a Drum of Endurance, because you need the extra strength. But it looks as if Death Prophet was trying to go, like I said, straight for Bloodstone. And this is one of those things where you need to learn to adjust your build sometimes. So I got my Ogre Club here. It's a significant amount of strength. Gives him more tankiness, which is really all I'm needed for at this point, because my spells do their damage on their own. Once they're casted, they're done. So what we do need to do is push lanes, because we still don't have enough map control. This was unfortunate. Dark Seer gets killed up here. But as you can see, we don't have much vision over the map. Our only ward is over Roshan, which is important because Ursa normally wants to get a lot of Roshans. This Ursa just ended up in a really bad position. But they see me and Death Prophet, and we are the two squishiest people on our team, arguably. Lich is pretty squishy, but yeah. Death Prophet is really out of position at this point, and I just tell Death Prophet to get the hell out of there. That was lucky. Unfortunately, that blink. I get my Maledict off, but Death Prophet doesn't back off, and this is not a position. This was not a good position for us to be in. I think I wise up and run, and I see the axe, and I'm like, shit, get out, get out. I get one stun off, but I can't do anything after that. That's a 4-man, so I managed to dodge his hook, but he's just trying to use his ult on me. He doesn't get his ult off because, you know. Yeah. So at this point, he's just like, I'm gonna get the kill. That was pretty funny. Axe tried to jump in to get a kill steal, and eventually Pudge dies on my Midnight Pulse, and they all end up blocking each other for a little bit. So I get some extra AoE damage off. My death for Pudge is alright in my opinion. Not the best positions to be in, because Dark Seer could have easily just handled Dazzle. I would have preferred for Faceless Void to chase after them. But yeah, this is one of the main reasons why Mask of Madness is such a popular Faceless Void build in pubs, because if you feel that you need to bring in some early game pressure, then it's a very useful item. So he gets his invis. He has a Shadow Blade, so that happens. It's unfortunate. And at this point, Faceless Void is just like, yeah, sure. That happens. But it does look a lot like Ursa and Axe were just trying to farm their kills at this point. This was a good initiation by Slark, but one, the Aegis, and two, Slark was just not farmed comparatively. I mean, what does Slark have? That's a good Shallow Grave, by the way, and I have to mention it because you'd be surprised how bad people can be at using that skill. So Slark has a Shadow Blade. It's not an item I generally like. Usually, with the money it costs, I would have just preferred for him to get an Ultimate Orb. And Faceless Void has a Mask of Madness, a Mjolnir, and a Chrysalis. So he's very much farmed. So as you can see, he's just tanking things at this point. Yeah, Slark's Dark Pact is very useful against Faceless Void because it stops, essentially counters bash. And these Blade Mails are good. These Blade Mails are really paying for themselves. If you're dealing with people who deal more damage than they have health, that's the way to go. Death Prophet is so out of position. And like I said, her problem is that she's been going straight for she's going straight for Bloodstone, so he's just gonna call her, and that'll be the end of it. Or never mind then. But that's it. This is why going Bloodstone first is so risky. Going Yules first or Drums first is decent. And of course the usual chatting. For the record, Dark Seer and Faceless Void were really friendly. Axe and Ursa were doing a lot of screaming. Pudge also seemed pretty friendly. He actually seemed yeah, this was a bad situation for me, and I was just like, is it worth it? Yep, I'll do it. I'll do it now. And I died to Rot, but I was just like, as long as you guys get the kill on Pudge, I'm fine. And his hook ends up hitting one of my creeps, so that's fine too. So Pudge is being shut down. A trade of me for Pudge, I mean, if you look at the score, it's all right. I'm of a lower priority than Pudge, so if he dies to kill me, it's not a good trade for him. Slark getting farm is never a good deal, but at least Faceless Void came in, Dark Seer got farm. So me and Lich are probably the lowest priority people on our team, if not Death Prophet and Lich. No, actually Death Prophet and me. Lich is paying for himself. They only really need me for my ult. I mean, Maledict would have been useful. This is one thing about Faceless Void. He's a hero who showcases whether or not your team is ahead in terms of its snowball. Because he's all about your team's ability to make the most of whatever advantages it can get. I think that's the case with most of the really hard carries like Phantom Assassin, Anti-Mage, Faceless Void. It's really a question of, has your team really managed to make the most of whatever situations it's in? And Ursa's trying to go in for trying to do some jungling, failing. It's unfortunate, but yeah. This is what happens when you try to rush for Bloodstone first. It doesn't really work, and Faceless Void was caught far out of position at this point. Yeah, he wasn't really in any position to get away from those two. And I was a little worried here because I've played enough games in pubs to know what it's like when you're winning and someone decides that they're too strong, they're too good to kill. So Pudge is obviously trying to get a kill on Lich here. And this is and I think I saw Ursa. I think I see Ursa because this happens, I blink in, and I'm not in a position to use my ult. Yeah, and Pudge is stuck. Pudge was stuck. I died to Ursa. So that was a really bad clash to be in. If I had my ult, that would have been completely different, but I wasted it on Pudge. Well, it wasn't a waste in my opinion. In hindsight, it would have been better to save it, sort of thing. So Ursa has actually started snowballing, but Ursa is one of those heroes who doesn't carry as well as a lot of other carries because he's so dependent on Fury Swipes. Also at this point, he's gone for a lot of mid-game items like Blade Mail and Vladimir's Offering. Shadow Blade, like I said, is not optimal, but because it's pubs, you can get away with it. So, Faceless Void, sorry, Death Prophet, because of Slark's ult, is getting completely pwned and just dies. Oh, no, doesn't die. Okay, that was a fail. Axe could have called and killed her, but he seems to not be using his call, and I don't think that's something anyone's going to complain about. I believe Axe must have just gone... What happened here? No idea. Either way. So, he dies to my Midnight Pulse. Like I said, it's great against really tanky heroes. I mean, Axe has a pretty high strength gain, 2. Oh, well, no, that's actually pretty low, 2.5 per level. But he has a pretty high amount of strength. Whatever. So, at this point, I'm just like, yep, we'll just push back the lanes. And I think I just rotate between bottom and top lane, creating my Eidolons. I'm finally catching up in some farm, but it also helps that we've been shutting down their biggest threats. So, Slark and Pudge are no longer a threat because Ursa and Axe have been playing pretty selfishly. And I get my BKB. It's a good item on Enigma. I mean, they don't have anyone who can really shut me down. The only people who could really give me a problem if I don't catch them in the black hole is Pudge and Axe. And those are the two people I generally want to use my black hole on anyway. Well, Ursa too. So, I mean, there's like 3 big priority targets for me. Ursa gets this. But I believe Slark takes the Aegis. Which, at this point, wasn't the right call because Slark was not farmed up. Slark has a Basher and Shadow Blade. And it's not a good set of items. Not at 36 minutes. So Death Prophet has a Bloodstone, but she's about to just lose charges just like that. It's really unfortunate, but she's in a horrible position. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, cool. So we stop Dazzle from joining in the gank, and we end up sandwiching these two. And this is worth it as far as I'm concerned. This was a good ult. Secures an easy kill on those two. Unfortunately. And, I mean, my Midnight Pulse saves my hide the whole time. I pop my BKB and it's wasted, but I do it because I was worried he'd pounce me and he could take me down very easily. Shadow Blade into 1 right click, pounce, and then continue right clicking. But they start pushing in, and at this point I'm like, okay, cool. I can finally be useful and relevant and contribute. In terms of the gold graph, we have a slight lead. They've been catching up because we haven't been pushing as much. And I mean, you can feel it. Faceless Void hasn't really gotten any new major items. He's got his Daedalus. That's a good boost of damage, but what he really needs right now is a little bit more tank, as far as I'm concerned. I'd actually be up for him getting a Scotty for pure stats, or even... Yeah, that was actually really good by them. That was a really good use of Chronosphere, because that was perfect. I had to get out prematurely. And this happens. It was a really bad clash. That was a good ult by Lich, but they split up just in time. Yeah, but as you can see, Death Prophet isn't really contributing, and Dark Seer and Faceless Void got focused. So by this point, Lich is just free. At least Lich gets a kill on Slark, which is good. So at this point I was like, did we prioritize something wrong? Throughout the game, by the way, I don't think I ever really thought Ursa would be a huge threat. I've seen Ursa players. They sort of cap off, but he got Scythe of Ice, which was a good item because it shuts down your major threat. So in this case, Faceless Void. And this wasn't them playing around. Faceless Void actually genuinely needed to go. There was some concern that he would at some point just peace out. Sorry, I needed to check something. Okay, back to free camera. So I was like, my ult's coming off cooldown soon. But we were really just waiting for Faceless Void, and I used my Eidolons to try and stop this push. And we see them rotating. Pudge is here. Like I said, constant aggression is what their team needs to do to be able to win. I mean, as you can see, just like that, being consistently aggressive, one good clash, and they've managed to even out the score. So I get my stun off on Axe. He's just someone we don't want to have to deal with. He's one of the easier people on their team to shut down as time goes on. And I believe Death Prophet gets caught out of position. She's so squishy. But I get this ult off on those two, and Chronosphere happens. It was a real shame because it didn't catch Ursa, so essentially it just did less damage overall in the clash. But I wasn't complaining too much at that point. It was... I mean, I don't think I played horribly when you look at such things happening, but I also think that, you know, I'm in no position to really whine about him blowing his ult like that when I am 4-6-25. So, as long as my team is winning clashes, I'm fine. But like I said, that was a clash where we could have saved Chronosphere in the future for something else. Ursa just melts Faceless Void, that happens. But at this point it was really okay, because, like I said, Ursa is a single target sort of thing. Kind of like an assassin in League. I think that's what assassins do in League. So Ursa's got the right items. He's building well. Dazzle at this point has started catching up a little bit. He's got a Necronomicon. That's a good item to get. Necronomicon will shut down a lot of our AoE power because the red creep from it deals damage to whoever kills it. So most likely there'll be Death Prophet or Lich or Dark Seer or me. And the four of us have been putting out a lot of control, and our control comes with some damage. It's a good item to do. Death Prophet here, bad position again. And Death Prophet is, on the overall, has just lost charges from this. So it's a lot less worth it. Like I said, one of the core items to get on her is Yules. Or BKB would have been decent. This clash happens. Dark Seer is smart about running back and forth through his shield. And yeah, Death Prophet was in a horrible position. I didn't have my black hole. So Pudge kills Dark Seer, but Lich kills Pudge in return. The extra damage of Dazzle walking through the shield nearly kills him. I get my stun off, and it just threatens them. Fortunately, it doesn't actually kill them. So yeah, I get the kill because of my Midnight Pulse, and we know he's here. I probably am not the best person to... yeah. I get my stun off, and yeah, if it weren't for my stun, I'd have been dead. But he has bonus movement speed, and I died because of Dark Pact. I considered using my black hole, but it wouldn't have been worth it, and I've just died anyway. This is the player-controlled axe, so we're just... This is a huge waste, because 1, Blade Mail, and 2, Slark was the bigger threat. And Backtrack saves this guy's life. So... and, I mean, Axe reconnects to game. That happens. It's a weird game. It goes back in our favor after that because Faceless Void's the one who needs the farm. And I mean, as the game progresses, I mean, Ursa gets a basher. Ursa gets a basher, overpowers, and then it just depends on whose RNG is better than the others if he tries to one-on-one Faceless Void. But this Death Prophet wasn't in a good position to really do anything, and I have no idea what she was building. I'd like to believe she's building Heart, because that's what she needs at this point. Lich is going for Ghost Scepter, that's a good choice. Aghanim's good choice. And Dark Seer at this point is pretty farmed. He's got his Dust, a Crimson Guard, Scythe of Eyes. Crimson Guard here is a bit iffy because Pudge is mostly spell damage. But Slark, Ursa, they're right click, and they are starting to become an issue, so I can understand. We wanted to push, and Faceless Void was just like, no. But that's okay, because he's doing well. I'd like him to do well with whatever he is. This Pudge engaged without noticing we were there, so this happens. Lich wastes his ult, which is a shame because it's a minute-long cooldown. But this Midnight Pulse really does some work. I die because of the Blade Mail, but Dark Seer has time to come in, and the damage from Death Prophet's ult pays off, so it's a good trade. This was a good trade. And the kill on Pudge was optimal too, because who killed Pudge? Lich. Lich chased after Pudge and killed him. This is fine. This is fine. I am dying for all the right reasons. I mean, I'm as a player who usually goes support, I'm fine with dying as long as my team comes out ahead. So I guess I ended up being priority 4 because the Lich is in a much better position to be called priority 3 than I am. I mean, all my team needs is Blink into Black Hole, and I do work. So I'm 5'8", sorry, 5'8", 30. I'd like to believe I am contributing. And my team at this point is in a good position. So, lots of BM. It's, yeah, this happens, but Dark Seer's fine. Yeah, at this point, it's really just all about them going in and killing. Yeah, Axe's Crimson Guard nearly allows him to win. If RNG were on his side, he would have totally just killed. But yeah, this ends. And that works. The Death Prophet's build was iffy to me. I think I made a lot of good choices except for the few times where I just wasted my ult on a single target, and it happens. I don't appreciate this sort of BM. I really don't like it. This guy was pretty bad, so I'm just gonna set him to ignore because I don't want to play with people like that in the future. And there you go. So this was me trying out ranked Enigma. I got some good experience off it, and in the future I think I'll be able to be a better Enigma player for reviewing my actions, but also I'll be able to understand how to deal with certain situations like axes. The axe was a huge issue early on. I think we adapted well to it. Aside from that, I also think we could have done with better laning. I don't know how well the Death Prophet would have done against the Pudge. But I would still have rather preferred Faceless Void go top, because then me, Dark Seer, and Enigma would have been in a better position to stop the axe, because the axe did get some good farm from his gimmick. Because Death Prophet didn't do well off lane, and it just ended up being a disaster for him. So There you go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this match. I hope I didn't screw up too much, and tune in the future for more games. Let me know if you want to see me risk my MMR in more ranked games. Let me know if you want to see Jace again. Generally, I play on US West when I'm playing with Jace, and when I get to play by myself, I'm playing on Southeast Asia and Australia. So, stay tuned in the future. Bye.